Time to look at some advanced features of SeeSaw. So when you're logged into your course in SeeSaw, you can click on the wrench. And by clicking on the wrench, you're going to see some of your settings. The advanced features we're going to look at today are primarily set up in your settings, and then we can move from there. If you scroll down in your settings, first ensure that you have family access turned on. This will allow for families to be able to connect without seeing what's happening in all the other students' coursework. You can invite families or manage families. Remember that SeeSaw makes it super easy for you as a user to be able to share things, and exactly what you want to share will be shared with the families. Another option is a class blog. I'm going to turn it on in settings here. And what this is going to do is set up a public blog. So if you're trying to have an audience for your students' work, maybe it's work they're doing that they need to share with grandma and grandpa or somebody remote, we can set up a public blog for your class. And when you set that up, you would set that up with your class's name here. And then you would pick a custom URL that's going to be used for the SeeSaw blog. Then your URL for people to see this content will always be blog.seesaw.me/ and then whatever you call. Now once you've done that, it's going to ask, do you want to enable comments on the blog? This is if you want people to be able to give comments. Some people choose not to. Some people choose to. Blog comments can show up, but they do all require approval. So if you have them turned on and you get a rogue comment, just know that you don't have to approve that one. And you can also password protect it. So if you want to have to share a password to get into that, you can click password protect and then pick what that password's going to be to send to grandma and grandpa or somebody else to use. Once you have it all done, you're going to then have publish to blog showing up in your courses. And then blog shows up here on the side, so you can make sure you put in items for all of your class. Now back in settings on that little wrench, I'm going to click the other item you might want to look at is the ability to use folders. Folders can help organize activities. Maybe it's a folder for a specific project that they're working on or some other content that they're working with. You can create a folder. Right now I just have math and reading, but maybe I'm going to have a bunch of assignments and posts that are going to be specifically about a project coming up. So I'm going to create my project folder. And I'm going to change the color of that so I can always say go to that green project folder when I'm talking to my students. When I do that, I'm going to go ahead and click on my project folder, and you'll see that I can always change those names and settings. But now that I have folders, and I'll be able to use those down the way. So I'm going to go ahead and get into my course content. And when I add content, now we're going to see, as I assign an activity, that I can assign it to my class, but I can also say which folder is it going to go into. So I'm going to say this is part of our new project. I want that to be in the project folder. Your students will be able to see some of that executive functioning happening more when you start to give them some of those drives to get into different folders inside of this. So it's still going to post on their main stream, but it will also be organized a little bit cleaner for them. You can also say when you assign something that maybe you don't want every student to get it, maybe you just want a couple students who are going to need some particular group work to do. You can assign it to them and then go from there, and then we assign it to the class from there. So if I go back into my class, this is where I see which assignment it's been put into. So this is in the project folder. Here's one that's in math. Here's one that's just in everybody. It's not organized at all. But it does help your students as they start to see these different folders that are out there. And then they can click on the assignment and the folder to see it. Also, when you get student responses in, that's when you're going to start being able to add content to the blog. You'll always see in the blog itself this gear icon that lets you kind of clean it up, put a little description, and put a header image. Just make sure the image that you use, you have the rights to use, and you're not sharing student information or student data, because this is a public-facing blog now. So those are a few tips and tricks on how to use some advanced features inside of SeeSaw.